What is the weirdest thing that has happened to you during sex? Queefing is not actually that weird, but it can be unexpected and very embarrassing and a turnoff to some guys. Otherwise, one time while in the midst of foreplay, I had a guy slide his hand down my pants and suddenly freeze. Said it was gross how wet I was and got up and left. Who the fuck wants a dry pussy? WTF. And yeah, queefing always happens during the most hot and sexy times, breaking in trying to ruin the mood. Oh, we always try to ignore it, but there are those rapid-fire ones you just can't ignore. Am I right? And wet pussy is the best pussy. He will learn what he lost that day. On the banks of the Ohio River, on a grassy knoll on a big blanket, Tugboat was spotlighting the shore for sandbars and spotted us. That light could have been seen on the moon. Then, he hit the foghorn about 10 times. Could not finish. I was a bouncer at a bar for a while. This girl would always show up and we clearly had a thing. Finally, one night, I had her over to stay the night. The first time in this instance. After going at it for a while, she starts feeling faint like she was gonna pass out. She quickly blurts out she's a diabetic and needs sugar and fast. I jump out of bed and run through my house full nude to grab maple syrup from the fridge. It was the only sugary thing I knew I had. The funny thing is, I lived with 3 roommates at the time who were currently awake and using the area for other things. I burst into the kitchen bare-assed and start rifling through the fridge, grab the maple syrup, and say something to the effect of "gotta go." All I hear is laughter as I sprinted up the stairs, butt cheeks rippling with each step. But I got that woman her maple syrup, and she was fine after a few minutes. Then we continued, and it was great. We spent many more nights together with a bottle of maple syrup within reach of the bed. I had very nearly the same thing happen one time, I ended up buying juice boxes and crackers to keep in the bedside drawer while we dated. Then, after we broke up, I had a nice supply of bedside snacks that I could wallow in self-pity with. What makes me laugh until I'm nearly crying is imagining the no-context state of your roommates. They know you're with a girl. They see you run out of the room completely naked, desperately in need of something to bring back to the bedroom, and you grab maple syrup. From their perspective, your night is going very well indeed. And also, that girl may be Canadian. Was eating this woman's pussy? When she started really getting into it and breathing real heavy, suddenly she sat straight up. Her eyes rolled back into her head, and she passed out, thought I killed her. In this one, I'm not involved in the actual sex. I was at a small club with several beers and 1 pill of MDMA deep. Nature calls, so I head to the bathroom to punish some porcelain. As I lock the door and sit down, I hear someone getting into the stall next to me. Only it wasn't just someone. It was 2 people. Based on the sounds I started hearing, I can only assume they'd begun to have sex. The woman was very vocal and enthusiastic. Now I'm conflicted. 2 innocent people who sound like they're having a grand old time are about to be subject to the Thunderdome. For those who don't know, the combo of MDMA and beer makes for some of the most violent diarrhea one could have. I let it rip. Holy hell, was it loud? I couldn't help but start laughing as it was all happening. The monsoon lasted a good 5-10 seconds before peace returned to the porcelain. There's no chance in hell they couldn't hear or smell what had just happened. What do I hear from the other stall? The same moaning and banging of walls I heard before. They were completely unfazed. It was impressive. Her dog got into the bedroom and bit my ass while I was power thrusting away. Thought I needed stitches. A real mood killer. I hooked up with a girl, and afterward, she started sobbing in my arms on her couch and started apologizing. She kind of composes herself and says, "That's the first time I've come since I was sexually assaulted last year." One part of me mentally goes, "Holy fuck, this is a very intimate moment to share with a stranger." The other half goes, "LOL, nice bro" to me. I'll never forget that moment. We had amazing sexual chemistry. We didn't get married or anything, LOL. Her roommate opened the door as we were doing doggy, walked up to me, put her hand around my cock as I was thrusting, and said pound her harder, "Come on." After a few seconds, she released, licked my neck, and slapped my ass and said, "Keep it up," and walked out. I hadn't met her roommate before. LMAO, this one made me laugh pretty hard. It happened so fast I didn't know what to do. We officially met later that night, and she told me she was turned on by the sounds her roommate, a girl I met a few days earlier, was making, so she wanted to see what I was working with, and if she was feeling it more, she would have joined in. I just looked at the girl I started seeing and she said, "Yeah, she's joined in before." And that's when I realized these 2 were stone-cold freaks. Maybe not the weirdest, but weird enough. We were having a good time, and he was touching me and stuff. Overall, it felt really good until he started playing with my clit. I am seriously not joking when I say that this man started screaming, "Uck yeah, flick that bean while rubbing my clit. I just went dry that fucking instant. I looked him dead in the eye and said, "What the fuck was that? Please do not do that again." And as if it wasn't weird enough, he started explaining the reference from South Park. I have many, but the first that comes to mind is when my husband and I were lying in bed after dinner and we decided to get a bit frisky. Put his fingers inside me, and almost immediately, a horribly painful burning sensation begins. I freak out and run to the bathroom to hose the old girl down while trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. Turns out that even thoroughly washing your hands after a succulent, spicy crawfish dinner does not completely remove the spice from your fingers. My husband did something similar to me, only he had been cutting up hot peppers to ferment for hot sauce without my knowledge. I pretty much launched myself off the bed shrieking, "Did you cut jalapenos?" I ran to the shower and desperately hosed myself off as much as I could. I haven't completely forgiven him to this day, but we always keep a box of gloves in the kitchen now. Was going to town when she had a seizure. Had to get her kid. By the time we got in the room, she was underneath the bed. He said it was no big deal. Happens all the time. Her dad called and she answered and kept writing and had a full conversation normal as fuck, but she was immediately more wet the second it started. GF stayed over for V-Day and I was supposed to go in later that day, so we had morning sex. As she is writing me my job calls, she demands I answer it. She starts to ride me like crazy as I talk to my boss. A guy I had wanted forever went down on me. I came super hard, then immediately started crying. I think from the massive release. He was worried. I told him I was fine. We started fucking, then he pulled his hamstring. I had a guy go down on me and had the best orgasm of my life to date. Afterwards, I walked into a wall on the way to the bathroom and couldn't stop shaking for like 30 min. He kept offering me a blanket, but I wasn't cold. It was aftershocks. I don't miss the relationship. That was all up and down. I absolutely miss the sex. Was butt naked about to go down on a girl and I was moving into the sniper position. While moving to the position, I let out the loudest fart you have ever heard. She laughed, I laughed, and we laughed together for 10 minutes naked on the bed. In the end, we continued, and she came, I came, it all worked out, and now it's a funny story. One time, I was much younger. Both me and my girlfriend at the time went to a friend's house, and we lay on the couch watching TV. Me and GF did. And our friend and his girlfriend were lying on the floor in the living room in front of us, watching TV also. Next thing you know. For no apparent reason, both of them on the floor just started to strip in front of us, and begins fucking on the floor in front of us. So here we are trying to watch TV, while these other two people are sitting there fucking in front of us, and they were going at it for a while. And what was weirder was that the girl on the floor was on top of our friend staring at us smiling the whole time. Freshman year of college, I was having sex with a girl in my dorm room. It's complete darkness, and she's on top riding me. At one point, my dick slips out, and she lands directly on top. It hurt for a split second, and then we go back to doing the dirty. Maybe 5 minutes later, she said to me, "Why is it so wet? This isn't from me." I turn on the light, and I kid you not. It looked like a murder scene. We were both covered in blood, and there was even a bloody handprint on the wall beside us. She hops off me, and we are trying to figure out who is bleeding and what is going on. Then I see a short stream of blood come straight out the top of my dick, similar to how it would look if I was peeing. While this is going on, I felt absolutely no pain. I was freaking the fuck out, but even with the adrenaline rush, there was no stinging or anything. I was even able to urinate without issue. The next day, she accompanied me to the campus health center. After explaining to the doctor what happened, the doctor called in 4 medical students to come take notes while she poked and prodded my shaft. They determined it was a small tissue tear, which my friends thought was hilarious LOL. I was on top of my then partner raw doing it. We'd been using the pull-out method for a while. All of a sudden, I get a sharp muscle cramp in my calf. I start moaning in pain, only my partner mistook it as me coming inside of her. She immediately stiff arms me in the face and shoves me back. I should note that she was a university rugby player, so that stiff arm added a whole other level to the pain I was already in. Eventually, I was able to explain what happened. We had a good laugh.